Peter Thomas, Fornatale, back with you here at Santa Anita. Vanessa, Ryle alongside. This is it, folks. Best bets for Saturday. We're here in the San Gabriel Mountains, and we've got some great racing ahead of us. Vanessa, where shall we start for our first best bet on Saturday?
Fillies and Mare Turf, please.
Okay, we can go right there.
The Inspiral versus Warm Heart European Clash, as I am calling it. Very much back and forward, as we have been with the Breeders' Cup Bulletins with Inspiral all week. Seen her again this morning ahead of racing, and I'm definitely with Warm Heart.
Okay.
It's Warm Heart for me. We know she's dropping back in trip, but she's not had an opportunity over this sort of trip at this sort of track to show her best, and this is going to be it for her. As discussed before, we like her form. We like what she did in France recently. We're not bothered about the drop down in trip. And then on top of all of that, she's looked an absolute picture every morning, hasn't she? We saw her this morning. She looks really well.
Eye-catching.
She's bouncing. Yeah.
So
Warm Heart for me over Inspiral.
I get it. I'll take you on, but not with Inspiral.
Oh.
I'm going to stick with my in Italian idea here.
Yeah.
You know, I'm hoping she can just get those right kind of measured, fast splits, and that she will be not for catching in the Filly and Mare Turf. I still think the price is okay with all that money going to the two in the top of the market. I respect Warm Heart. In fact, they'll be Inspiral and Warm Heart exactas over in Italian in case we see a replay of last year with in Italian almost looking home and then just getting run down late. But that's going to be my first bet as well in the Filly and Mare Turf. Where do you want to go to next?
Well, I was going to bounce forward to the Breeders' Cup Mile, but do you want to go to somewhere in between first?
No, I'm going to leave the Filly and Mare Sprint alone.
Okay.
So we're in the mile.
Okay, so we're over into the mile then. So this is the big Morge dilemma, isn't it? This is the big Morge question. The dropping, the choosing to go the mile rather than the 10. Her form coming into this. Is she the hype horse in here? Is her price too short? Probably over Songline. I'd say that she is becoming too short. But in terms of who I think is going to win the race, I think I finally ended up on Morge, but it is a tentative.
This doesn't sound like a best bet to me.
This is as good as it gets. This is as good as it gets. No, I think you can see my question marks, can't you? You can understand my worries.
Yeah.
But do I want to let her go unbacked? No.
Okay.
Do you see where I'm coming from?
I see where you're coming from.
So it's like I've got the question marks, but I'm not gonna let her go unbacked. I'd be so annoyed if she won and I hadn't backed her. So I am going to back her.
Sometimes you have to make those mental health bets.
Exactly.
Just for the greater good.
Bet, yeah. So she is a mental health bet rather than a best bet.
We'll let you in off the goalpost with that one.
Okay.
I'm in the same race too, but I'm going for a big price in here. And I think in this big international clash that we have over these days of the Breeders' Cup, this one goes to Team Canada, taking a shot with Shirl Spite in here in a race where so many of the key contenders seem like they're posted in a difficult place. Shirl Spite, I think, is drawn perfectly on the inside. It is the shortest way around after all. The price is huge. This is a horse that's been short of fitness, I think, in the last two races. I think it's been laid out for a big run here. And best of all, at this kind of number, each way Shirl Spite, I think, is a very sensible way to go. Exotically, I do respect Songline a whole lot. I will have an exacta that way as well. But Shirl Spite for me in the BC Mile.
Okay, where are we going to next?
Let's see. Why don't we go to the Distaff?
Okay, you can have the Distaff. That won't be one for me. It won't surprise European viewers.
I think this race, as much as any race I've ever seen, almost has to be a pace boil over. There is so much speed signed on. So many people talking about Idiomatic and Adair Manor, and the horse that really might even be the one that's out there first is Hoosier Filly, drawing the rail with the blinkers on. They are going to boil over in here. It's going to set up for a closer. The best closer is Clairiere. I know there are questions about Clariere's form in terms of the last run. Obviously, not what you're looking for in a prep race. But her prep race coming into this last year wasn't that good. And she ran a blinder, just beating the neck for the whole thing into third. So with a perfect setup, I think Clairiere gets the job done in the Distaff. If it's not her, this is also one where you could go for some wild prices. But I think Clariere's too good. She'll confirm her class and quality and win the BC Distaff.
Wow. I've heard it from a few people as well. I don't think it's not just you on that Clairiere train. Let's move on to the turf, please, for my next best bet, surely.
That's absolutely acceptable.
So It's not going to surprise you as Masterda, obviously. Like, we've been on this Masterda train now for every day. We've spoken about him every day here. He looks a picture. We know that. We know, you know all this form already, what he's been doing in Europe, how he travels well, loads of positive signs about him. It's interesting to me that, you know, at this point when we're talking now, he's the clear favourite. Auguste Rodin not. You know, they were sort of co-favourites for a little while in there. And then when things have settled down now, it's all aboard Masterda for most people. But I do think that Charrier in there is worth the shout. Don't you? Like, I know we've got to hope that he bounces back. He is going to bounce back to form. But he's looked a picture, and Michael's positive words on him.
Yep.
You know, you can't ignore that, right? And he does have that back catalogue of class. I know we haven't seen it more recently from him, but if we are going to see it, it could be here. And I just think at a bigger price, at 14-1 or 16-1, sort of bouncing around that sort of mark, he's too big a price to go unbacked in the place market.
I got you. So you're basically going to split stake there between Masterda and Charrier.
Yeah.
You asked me, don't I think about Charrier? Look, it's all about the price. I'm not going to talk you off at that number, but boy, is this a difficult race. In addition to the big two of Masterda and Auguste Rodin, you have a horse like Anesto, and that is where I'm still going to land. I've made my case. She rolls her eyes every time.
I don't know, like, it's so disrespectful to roll your eyes at someone's tip because this is the great game. Like, we can all make a case for these horses. So I don't know why I'm doing that. But honestly, if Anesto wins, I'm just going to walk out of here. Just going to keep walking into the sea because I won't be able to deal with it.
Yeah, well,
I won't be able to.
You will definitely be getting some stick if this tip goes in. I think this race just suits him perfectly. I think he's the value of the race at the prices. I thought the arc run was huge. The sectional closing time was fantastic. And I just think we're going to see another big run. The arc is just such a historically great trial for this as well. Not necessarily arc winners, though we have had one of those go on and win the turf, but horses who've run well there coming here. We've talked a lot about the official ground description the last day too. I think in part it was the firm that moved, the firmish ground in France that helped move him forward. Obviously, that's what it's going to be here. And this is a horse that had a very quiet early season. I just think still has some petrol left in the tank. We'll see how that goes. I think we got to talk about the Classic, don't we?
Well, you do, yeah. Yeah.
You've been here all week. You have not formulated an opinion on one of the biggest dirt races in the world.
Well, the biggest race has fallen apart in the last week.
Right. Well, that's fair.
That's a fair comment.
Yeah, I mean, it would be great to have Arcangelo in there. Obviously, the tragedy involving Go Rocket Ride. I mean, these were horses we were looking forward to seeing. But I still think it's a pretty interesting race. And I think with Arabian Night, who I respect, but as the favorite in a race where there is other speed, I think that's going to make the market potentially for a runner like White Abarrio. That's where I'm landing in here. Lots of respect for Zandon, lots of respect to Ushba Tesoro. I'll cover White Abarrio in exactas. Yeah, I thought that's where you were going to go, actually.
No, I just, we're doing best bets. We're not doing every race.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
But White Abarrio, for me, all he's got to do is run back to the Whitney, and I think he'll win the race rather easily. Anything in the last two, or is that it?
Well, I think in terms of my best bets, that's probably it. But in terms of living the dream in the sprint.
Gotcha, yeah.
Like, it's worth a little mention.
At least. Boy, we saw Living the Dream out here this morning.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Sensational,
Jaw-droppingly great-looking horse. It's tough.
It's not even just that, though, is it? It's like if one horse is absolutely bouncing of the Europeans, it's him.
Yeah.
And obviously, if he was going over like a mile or a middle distance trip, you'd say it was too much. But as a sprinter, I mean, we know what he can do in those sprint races anyway. And I just think that, like, they've got him. He's just at peak capacity. He's ready to spring, isn't he? And so it'd be remiss of me not to give him a mention. But it's kind of head and heart, getting to know the owners out here, getting to know Adam West. It's been one of the real treats of the week, and you just hope he runs his race.
It'd be great.
Yeah.
Is it a good sign when the trainer giggles after the horse comes by?
I mean, quite literally, like, the horse may have been bouncing. Adam West himself was just like...
He's done his job, right?
Yeah,
now it's those races.
do you know what? I actually think that's the relief for him. We kind of like need to focus on best bets, but I think that's probably the relief for him. Is it's like he's got so close to the race now. He's just got to get him down to the starting stalls.
Yeah. It's going to be wild. It's going to be a great day of racing. It's been so fun to be here with you all week, and the At the Races Sky team supporting us from afar has been fantastic as well. I've been not really doing a close on these. I've just been sort of letting them in, but I'm going to do a proper close on this one, unless you have a closing thought first.
Just enjoy it. You know, we're just going to have a great couple of days of racing, and like Santa Anita, it's as good as people tell you it is, and better.
For Vanessa, Ryle, I'm Peter Thomas Fornatale. May you win all your photos.